About that original hen, midwinter, frua or cua, was in the offing and premver a promise of April, when as Kistjabridges sang life's old Sassatong, an ice-clad shiverer, merest of bantlings, observed a cold fowl, behaviorizing strangely on that fatal midden, or chip factory, or comical-bottomed copse-jute dumpfishort, afterwards changed into the orangery, when in the course of deeper demolition, unexpectedly one bushman's holiday, its limen threw up a few spontaneous fragments of orange peel. The last remains of an outdoor meal by some unknown sun-seeker or place-hider, illico way back in his mistridden past. What child of a strand looper but keepy little Kevin, in the despondful surrounding of such sneezing cold, would ever have troved up on a strait that was called street a motive for future sanctity by oikering the finding of the Ardar chalice by another highly innocent and beach walker, whilst trying with pious clamour to wheedle tipper-raw, re-war, putators out of New Zealand, in spingt of the patch-purple of the massacre. A duel to die today, Godheim and bigod, sticks and stanks of most of the Jacobiters. The bird in the cage was Belinda of the Dorans, a more than quinquagentarian, Ters's prize with Cerny medal, cheaper Lizzie's Hain exposition, and what she was scratching at the hour of clocking 12 looked for all this zog-zag world like a good-sized sheet of letter paper originating by transhift from Boston, Mass, of the last of the first to dear, whom it proceeded to mention Maggie well, and all at home's health well, only the hate turned the mild on the vain hootens, and the general's elections, with the lovely face of some born gentleman, with a beautiful present of wedding cakes for dear thank you, Christi, and with grand fun for all of poor Father Michael. Don't forget unto life, said Muggy, how well you are, Maggie, and hope soon to hear well, and must now close it with the fondness of the two inns with 4 cross kisses, for holy Paul, holy holy Palol, Holy Island, P.S. from locust may eat all this, signed shall they never, affectionate large-looking touch of a stain and that tea-stain, the overcaught tellulessness of the master bilker, here as usual, signing the page away, marked it off on the spout of the moment as a genuine relic of ancient Irish of that Lydia-like languishing class known as the Hurry Me O'er the Hazy. Why then, how? Well, almost any photoist worth his chemicots will tip anyone asking him the teaser that if a negative of a horse happens to melt enough while drying, well, what you get is, well, a positively grotesquely distorted macromass of all sorts of horse-happy values and masses of melt while horse. Tip. Well, this really is what must have occurred to our missive. There's a sort of a tub for you. Please wisp off the grass, unfilled from the busher by the sagacity of a look me little like melong hen. Heated residence in the heart of the orange-flavoured mud mound, and partly obliterated the negative to start with, causing some features palpably nearer your pecker to be swollen up most grossly, while the farther back we manage to wriggle the more we need the loan of a lens, to see as much as the hen saw. Tip. You was feeling like you was lost in the bush, boy. You says it is a puling sample jungle of woods. You most shouts out, be thick at me for a stump of a beach, if I have the paltriest notions what the fairest y'all means. Gee up, girlie. The quad gospelers may own the Targum, but any of the Zingari Shularim may pick a peck of kindlings, yet from the sack of old Henzine. Lead kindly fowl. They always did, ask the ages. What bird has done yesterday, man may do next year. Be it fly, be it moult, be it hatch, be it agreement in the nest. For her socio-scientific sense is sound as a bell, sir. Her volucrine automutativeness right on normalcy. She knows. She just feels she was kind of born to lay and love eggs. Trust her to propagate the species and hoosh her fluff balls, safe through din and danger. Lastly but mostly, in a genetic field, it is all game and no gammon. She is ladylike in everything. She does. And plays the gentleman's part every time. Let us auspice it. Yes, before all this has time to end, the golden age must return with its vengeance. Man will become dirigible. Ague will be rejuvenated. Woman with her ridiculous white burden will reach by one step sublime incubation the main wanting human lioness, with her disthorned discipular manum will lie down together publicly, flank upon fleece. No, assuredly they are not justified, those gloom pourers who grouse that letters have never been quite their old selves again since that weird weekday in bleak Geneva year. Yet how palmy date is a waste oasis, when to the shock of both, Biddy Durn looked at literature. And she may be a mere Marcella, this midget Majetsi, mistress of arts, but it is not a hear or say of some anonymous letter, signed Toga, girlish, teasy dear. We have a cop of her first right against our nosy boys. We note the paper with her jotty young watermark, Notre Dame du Bon Marché, and she has a heart of Aaron. What lilts as she falls with her follow-my-ears, that she is not out to diddle-daddle with the grace uncouth of post-Bantium, glossaries from the Lapins and the Greeks, nuttings on her wild life, grabba guden grandi for old Almenium, etymologists like Dariamorius and Zovitrim Severov Meruvian Dims. She feel plain plate one flat fact thing, and if lastways, first wise, a man alone, sinny and neon uthawes, has no rates to done a kick at with any on anakas about tutus, milking forays, and the rearies on the outer rand, Asakin the tutus to be forwarder. Thing hookle yak, said every pasture, 6 sticks likens around. Has the maggers by King Kank, and with down mind looked ingated. Mes dames, marmoselles, mes serfs, silver pace, all Schwanz, Schweiz, Ish tell the cocks truth about him. Capac, capuk. No Minsy's matter. He had to see life, foully the plack and the smuck, Schweitz. There were the 3 men in him, Schweitz. Dancing, Schweitz, was his only 2 feebles, with apple hardlots and a little Malforgels. Specially, Schweitz, when they peaches, honeys wore camellia paints. Yours very truthful, add dapple in, yet is it but an old story, the tale of a tree stone, with one is old, of a mun's held by 10 pegs, and his pal whath the loosed on the run, what cardman but could, but badman wouldn't. Any general man against any Venus, and why Kate takes charge of the waxworks. Let us now, weather, health, dangers, public orders, and other circumstances permitting, of perfectly convenient if you police, after you police, pardoning mine, ish beam so fresh, bay, drop this jiggery pokery, and talk straight turkey, meat to mate, for while the ear be me Michaels or Nicolists, may sometimes be inclined to believe others, the eye, whether browned or no lensed, find it devilish hard now and again even to believe itself. Habers hours et num vida bis. Habers oculus ac mana palpa boat. Tip. Drawing nearer to take our slant at it, since after all it has met with misfortune while all underground. Let us see all there may remain to be seen. I am a worker, a tombstone mason, anxious to please every boys, and jolly glad when Christmas comes is once a year. You are a poor joist, unctious to police nope, bobbies and tunny belly. Solely went his time, took our home gin. We cannot say eye to eye, we cannot smile nose from nose. Still one cannot help noticing that rather more than half of the lines were north-south in the Nemesis and Bucharest directions, while the others go west-east in search from Malazais with Bulgarad for. Tiny tot, though, it looks when stup distilling alongside other incunabula, it has its cardinal points for all that. These ruled barriers along which the traced words run, march, halt, walk, stumble at doubtful points, stumble up again in comparative safety, seem to have been drawn first of all in a pretty checker with lampblack and blackthorn. Such crossing is anti-Christian, of course, but the use of the home-born shillelagh as an aid to calligraphy shows a distinct advance from savagery to barbarism. It is seriously believed by some that the intention may have been geodetic, on the view of the cannier domestic economical, but by writing thitherways end to end and turning and end to end hitherways writing, and with lines of litters slittering up and louds of ladders slettering down the old semitomy place, and jupit back again from them, let rise till hum it let sleep, wherein the waste is the wisdom. Another point, in addition to the original sand, pounce powder, junket paper, or soft rag used, any vet or inhanger in our social can see the seed for himself. A wee flofty old room, the cheery spluttered on the one carrig, a darker disheen of ruse from Albania, any guts quantity of raki, a Portugal, and some book setting out on the sofa. You remember the sort of soft bowl Sucker Motro used to tell us when we were all Burberries or Nippies or Mezzes. It has accursed accretions of delicious matter while loitering in the past. The tea-time stained terminal, say not the tag, mumma, or our show's a failure, is a cosy little brown study all to oneself, and whether it be thumbprint, made mark, or just a poor trait of the artless, its importance in establishing the identity in the writer complexes. For if the hand was one, the minds of active and agitated were more than so, will be best appreciated by never forgetting that both before and after the Battle of the Boyne it was a habit not to sign letters always. Tip. And it is surely a lesser ignorance to write a word with every consonant too few than to add too many. The end? Say it with missiles, then, and thus arabesque the page. You have your cup of scalding shush chong, your taper's waxed drop, your cat's paw, the clove, or coffin nail. You chewed or champed as you worded it, your lark in clear air. So why, pray, sign anything as long as every word, letter, pencil, paper, space is a perfect signature of its own? A true friend is known much more easily and better into the bargain by his personal touch. Habits of full or undress, movements, response to appeals for charity, than by his footwear say. And speaking anent Tiberius and other incestuous salicities among gerontophiles, a word of warning about a tenderloin passion hinted at. Some soft-nosed peruser might mayhem take it up erogenously as the usual case of spoons, prostituta in herba, plus dinky pinks deliberatively somersaulting off a bicycle, at the main entrance of curates, perpetual suit and suit, with a want to see an arrow, who picks them up as gingerly as any palm-bearer, would to feel whereupon the Virgin was most hurt and nicely asking, Why have you been so grace a mauling, and where were you, chaste wee child? Be who father potential, and so wider, but we grisly old psychos, who have done our unsmiling bitter Alice's, when they were young and easily freudened in the penumbra of the procuring room, and what oracular comprehension we have had to apply to them, did we care to sell our fee-bought silence in camera, tell our very moist nostril one that father, in such variegated contexts, is not always that undemonstrative relative often held up to our controversy, who settles the hash bills for us, and what an innocent allabroad's adverb such as Michael looks like can be suggestive of under the pudendoscope, and finally what a neurasthene nympholept endocrine pineal typus of inverted parentage with the prepossessing trauma present in her past and a priapic urge for congress with agnates before cognates fundamentally, is feeling for under her lubricitous meiosis when she refers with liking to some feeler she fancies face, and we could. Yet what they need to say, 'tis as human a little story as paper could well carry. In effect, a sing to Salaman, suing to swit victuals, while as unbluffingly blurter brusque blunt as an Ezra. The cat's meter, the meter's cat's wife, the meter's cat's wife half better, the meter's cat's wife half better's meter, and so back to our horses, for we also know what we have perused from the pages of I Was a General. The shouting up of Bulsk's Livism by Schottenbaum, that Father Michael about his red time of the White Terror equals the old regime and Margaret is the social revolution, while cakes mean the party funds and dear thank you signifies national gratitude. In fine, we have heard, as it happened, of Spartacus intercellular. We are not corking it yet, dead hand. We can recall with volunteers the Froggy Jew, and sweeter far 'twere now West thinks in Dumbill's fair city, ere one more year is o'er, we turned our coast to the good gay tunes, when from down swords the sea merged the owled Outh guns, and answer made the bold O'Dwyer, but est modest in verbos. Let a prostitute be whoso stands before a door, and winks and parks herself in the fornix, near a make-used wall, since in, and the curate one who brings strong waters, gin, but also and dinna forget that there is many a sleeps between some at home's first, and more in Owsland's last, and that the beautiful presence of waiting cates will, until life's, be more than enough to make any milk-bike in the language of sweet tarts punch hell's hates into his twin Nicky, and that Maggie's tea, or your majesty, if heard as a boost from a born gentleman, is. For if the lingo, gasped between kick-sheets, however basically English, were to be preached from the mouths of wicked church wardens and metaphysicians in the Row and Advocatos, Alvoyas, Demivoyels, Langros, Lesbiels, Dentels, Gutterhowls, and Verts, where would their practice be, or where the human race itself, were the Pythagorean sesquipedalia of the Panepistimoion, however apically Volapucky grunted and grumbled, Ichabod, Habakkuk, Openoff, Ugabik, Habaxel, Go Menon, Pff, over country stiles, behind slated dwelling houses, down blind lanes, or when all fruit fails, under some sacking left on a coarse cart. So hath been, love, 'tis, and will be, till wears and tears and ages. Thiefest the night, steal we the air, shawl finer leafest mine, here, oh here, insult the fair, traitor bad hero brave, the lightning look, the birding cry, or from the grave, ever flowing on the times, fire Guzaria, iron water. Now, good sun, shine on Mende's daughter, a good clap, a fore-marriage, a bad wake, tell hell's well, such is man a wife's lot of lows, and win again, like his grewing gishkas, on whose chin again, she plucketh them out, but they groan in again. So what are you going to do about it? Oh dear.